Guys, so if you are here for the first time, make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you show some love. If this is your first time, we here at Millionaire Insight, we deal with all things finance, all things motivation. My basic mission for Millionaire Insight is helping people find their God-given purpose, and we discuss all the things ranging from personal finance and financial tips, and also we deal with motivational concepts and things like that. So if that sounds like that's something for you, please consider following and subscribing. If you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to the podcast on Anchor or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, make sure you follow, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss another episode. Good afternoon, you guys. How's it going? Nick here, Mr. Millionaire Insight. What's going on with you? Hope you're having an awesome Friday. Welcome to another episode of Freedom Fridays. Hope you are enjoying your day so far. In this video, I wanted to talk about credit, and more specifically, credit usage. So we're going to get into a lot of good things today. We're going to cover a lot of the nuts and bolts of credit usage, and more importantly, one of the biggest myths in credit usage today. As I mentioned in previous videos, I didn't start out having a lot of experience in the credit area. As a first generation immigrant, or second generation immigrant, sorry, we weren't privy to a lot of that information. So I learned a lot of great things from my parents. I learned a lot from them and how to save and how to save for a rainy day, protect myself for a rainy day. But I learned a lot of concepts on my own through my own research or through trial and error. And this is the thing here, is that one of the biggest myths is that people don't understand the importance of how credit functions in your finances. If you live in the US of A, credit and your credit profile and your credit worthiness is one of the most important things you could build and protect, because it needs to be protected. But you can also grow it. And another big myth when it comes to credit is you have to take years to build it up, and it has to take working with the credit agency. It has to take working with these big companies that will charge you anywhere from $100 to a couple $100 to either fix your credit or get you established at what needs to be done. So before we go any further, so this is my disclaimer. From this point on, this is for education and entertainment purposes only. Please make sure to consult a financial professional when it comes to making any financial decisions, because at the end of the day, it's about getting the right choices for your personal financial situation and making the right decision according to the law. So make sure and consult a professional. Now that we have that taken care of, let's get into the rest of the video. So, guys, one of the first things I realized is that I was severely misinformed when it came to credit, because when I first started my experience, my journey with credit, I started probably like 17, 18, like anybody else does in this country, in the US. And you kind of figure, okay, you get sent these credit cards and you don't really know what to do and how to go about it responsibly. Now think about it. And I'm not saying all teenagers are irresponsible. I'm just saying your teen years are a very, very interesting time when it comes to responsibility and learning responsibility. So there are some more than most of them more responsible. However, as you know, being one of the, well, I consider myself grounded and centered and things like that as far as responsibility, but put a bunch of money at the time, couple $100, $500 limit in my hand as an 18-year-old, you might not make the best decisions. So here's the thing. I took that and I ran with it. Unfortunately, I ran in the wrong direction and I ended up messing up my credit. Like a lot of us out there, ending up with messed up credit means, and take note here, it usually, if you end up with things like collections, late payments, and things like that, you end up in a situation where you have to live by that for the next 7 years. And even if you pay off said collection or you get on top of your payments and things like that, you can necessarily still work on it and get it done, but you will still have to wait 7 years in order to get that off of your credit. Or do you? That's what we're going to get into here. It's not, it is a hard and fast principle that most decisions, especially, collections and things like that, anything that you owe that's listed on your credit report, they say that it has to last on your account for at least 7 years. Now, the reason why I say or I ask, or do you, is because prior to finding out what I did in the last 12 to 18 months, you may not always have to wait for the 7 years in order for it to come off of your credit. Now, the truth is you can actually contact your collector in writing, preferably. The thing about collectors is that there's a lot that people don't know. And for one thing, they don't know that you can contact them and say, hey, what will you negotiate for? Let's say you owe T-Mobile $500. It's a very exorbitant example, but there are people out there with $500 phone bills. Let's believe that. I've seen it happen. So most of the time with creditors, you can contact them and find out how much they're willing to accept. And not only that, you find out how much they will accept, but you can also find out once you pay off the debt. Let's say you pay off the debt. There's a lot of people that say you don't have to pay off your collectors and whatnot, debt collectors. We'll get to that in another video, and I've broken that down before, but the fundamental concept here is you can inquire with these creditors, especially if you're talking to the person that you owe. Let's say you owe T-Mobile, like we said, it's not a collector that they sold the debt to. You actually talking to T-Mobile, hey, how much can I pay on this? And we can negotiate and we can actually settle this, because your intent to settle. That's the whole thing. So in this conversation, your intent to settle, you find out that they'll accept, let's say, 300 of the 500. Once you talk about that, you will also need to ask this question: can you remove this off my credit once this is paid? Now, once that debt is paid, they have no need to really have that on your credit report, right? It serves them no logistical purpose to have that on your credit report. And the thing is, once they remove that, it's done. You're not waiting the 7 years. You're not waiting that exorbitant amount of time. It's done. But they have to remove it, right? And they won't remove it unless you ask. So let's get to the nitty-gritty here. The most important things when you're talking about credit cards, it's not the annual rate, which should always be 0. It's not the annual percentage rate, which should be between 15 and 17%. It's not even the amount that you get. It's not even the limit that you get, right? It could be $250, it could be $500, it could be $1,000, it could be $10,000. The real root and the center of credit cards are the credit card usage policies. And one of the hard and fast talked about rules in credit card usage is you use 30% of what your limit is. Let's say your limit is $1,000. 30% of $1,000 is $300. So you can do the math as mathematicians here. You can do the math as $300 of the $1,000. Now, of course, it goes without saying you never want to max out a credit card, but you also never want to close a credit card. We'll review that in another point in another video too, and I'll explain why. But the fact about it is, most people talk about 30%. So you use that $300 of that $1,000, and you should be in a safe limit as long as you're paying you're making your payments on time and things like that. You should be fine, right? Or are you? And that's the thing I realized, is that the question I started to ask was, or I learned to ask was, is 30% really the best percentage rate to help your credit? Now, for me, I started looking at my credit report on a almost weekly basis, because as you know, credit affects everything that you do. When I say it affects everything, it affects absolutely everything that you do. Whether it's getting an apartment, getting a house, getting a car, getting a loan. Let's say you do a personal loan, you run into some trouble, you need to get a personal loan. You get a personal loan, it goes in your credit. You're looking for a car, you're looking for a house, all those things. But also, little known fact here, credit will also affect whether you can get a job. Now, yes, you did hear me correctly. Your credit rating can affect whether you get a job or not. Think about it like this. You're a business owner. Let's say you run a cash office, your store or whatever it is, whatever business you have a cash office, say how much ever, thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in there. Who is the person that you are trusting to count your money, or to go in that vault, to go handle your money, right? These companies want to find out who they're letting near their money. And it could be physical assets, it could be credit cards, it could be company cards, or whatever it is, whatever assets they have, they're thinking about letting you near it. So they're gonna look into your social media, they're gonna look into your background, they're gonna look at your resume. Gone are the days where they only look at your resume. They will check your credit. Now, they have to tell you that they're gonna do a credit check, but most jobs these days will do a credit check. And if you have, let's just be real. If you have a 500 and below, and you're going down, they might not tell you that they're not going to give you the job because of that. Most of the times they won't tell you, but it looks less exciting for them if they're going to put you in the cash office with that kind of score. Because here's what they think. They think, is this person going to be tempted? Is this person going to want to take money? Is this person going to want to siphon money, or whatever it is, in order to pay their bills or to do whatever? They figure lower credit score equals higher risk. So which is why you want to spend your time fixing and improving your credit. And unlike what these gurus will tell you, right? Unlike what these companies will tell you, who charge you hundreds of dollars to help you fix your credit repair agencies. We're not going to talk specifically, but I've had experiences with several of them. But what they will not tell you is that you can do this on your own. And it does not have to take you the next 7 years in order to get from let's say 400s, 500s, to get to the sweet spot where it's between 700 and 750, 775. It doesn't have to take you all that amount of time to do it. I have done it in less than a year. Thank you, Jesus. All glory be to God for that. So this is how I did it, right? What I did was I pulled my credit report report. Now you can go to companies like Credit Karma. I will still endorse Credit Karma because Credit Karma is what I have chosen. It's free to start. Most people know of Credit Karma. I hear a lot of things about Credit Karma about, some people, it's not a reliable score. But here's the thing that I have discovered, and this is why you have to do your own research and see how things are for yourself, right? What I discovered was when it'll have your TransUnion and have your Equifax credit score on there. I've actually been on the TransUnion website, been on the Equifax website, and the scores are the same. And that's the important thing here. That's where the rubber meets the road. As long as those two scores match from what's on Credit Karma versus TransUnion or Equifax, that's what you need, right? That's what you need the information to be the same, right? So once you realize that, you pull that information, and what I did next was discover who I needed to talk to first. So let's say I had older collections on my accounts and my credit reports. So I needed to go back and talk to these collectors, or in some cases, not talk to these collectors, but figure out what the best situation is to get this resolved. So what I will delve into at this point is where I literally looked at when the debts were, like when they were created, when the file was active, what date it was, because there's a lot of states around the country where they will have statute of limitation laws. So what literally that means is that they give companies a certain amount of time to go after an individual for a debt, and after that amount of time, they can no longer pursue you for that debt. Now, most states, it's anywhere between 5 to 7 years where it slips out of the statute of limitations, but it can't come after you. Now, for student loan debt, for medical debt, for personal debt, it's for any other kind of debt, it may vary between those categories. So contact or look up the policy, statute of limitations, look it up on Google for your state, and then you look at which dates are what, and then you go out to the oldest one first. And what you can do right through Credit Karma is actually dispute certain details if those details are incorrect. Now, if they listed as incorrect information on a specific debt, they have to remove it because it's invalid, right? So they have to either correct the information, or remove it. So once I did that, and I went through and I figured out what was what, and listen, most times you can get your credit report for free after you, let's say you went to the bank and you tried to get a credit card or something, or you tried to get a car loan or something. Most companies have 60 days from that date that they made that decision that they will give you a free credit report, right? So you can see exactly what people will see on your credit report, so you know what's there. So after I did that, what I did was, and this was, and listen, this was just last year in 2021. What I did was, I went to my credit union. In Northern Virginia, there's so many credit unions, and none of these companies that I mentioned here are paying me for advertising and a specific and official sponsorship. So if y'all want to, I'm not gonna be mad at it. So I bank with a credit union here in Northern Virginia called Apple. It's a really nice institution. And I recommend credit unions. So what I did is I went to my credit union and I said, hey, I'm looking to get a secured card. Now, if you don't know, I went through exactly what a secured card is and how that works in one of my adulting videos on YouTube. So if you have not already seen that, go to my YouTube channel, Millionaire Insight, the number 4 in the word life, and check out the adulting series and on credit cards. It's also available on Facebook as well. So go check that out after this video is done. After, all right? But suffice to say, secured cards are secured by your money. So let's say you do $250, right? So which is the average that start out at. So they'll take $250 of your money and secure that credit card. And what you do, you now have, once you get approved, after you submit the credit application and things like that, once you get approved, you will have a $250 limit for this example. Now, if you take that and you deduct 30%, like they say, that's about $70. Now, I would recommend going a little lower, and I'll tell you how much in a minute. But they say 30%. So we'll take that and start with that. And then I went ahead and structured, let's say, my gas, my cable bill, and maybe you have a streaming service or something. I have a couple streaming services. So I did those 3 things and a couple other small things to make up that $70, right? So, but here's the sobering thing I discovered. So yes, sticking to 30% does help, but you know what helps faster? 0% usage. Now, one of the big myths is that you have to have a running balance on a credit card, secured or unsecured, in order for them to see you using the money. Guess what? It's not true, right? You do not need to have a running balance on a given credit card, unsecured or secured, in order to get credit, so to speak, or to have it help your credit score. Because regardless, your bank or your credit union will report your payment status or your payment history. They will report that to them. So when I went in to my credit union, when I sat with the representative, I sat with the teller, or an advisor, I should say. I sat with her and she said something to me that made a whole lot of sense. She said, I use my credit card or my secured card, because she said she had one in the beginning. I use it like a debit card. That's right. She said, I use my my credit card as a debit card. And here's what that means. With a debit card, you have, let's say, $200 on a debit card. You know that if you try to do a transaction for $220, it's not going to work, right? You know that all that you have to use is what's there, right? So let's say you go get gas, you spend $50, which can really happen nowadays, right? You spend $50, right? Let's say you go out to dinner, you spend another $40, right? So instead, when you use your debit card, you swipe, and then it just takes the money out of your account. Most people are more comfortable with that because the transaction happens immediately, and they realize that you can count on that money coming out almost immediately. Now, I did a video on checks and all that kind of stuff, but the one thing I really want to segue into here is checking accounts and how that goes. I'll do a video for that. Trust me, I've learned a whole lot when it comes to the right way to use a checking account that's connected to debit cards. So back to the debit card. So you're using the debit card because you swipe and it comes up. You swipe and it comes out, right? Here's a revolutionary concept here. With a credit card, you use it the same way. Like, quite literally, what I've done is I go to a gas station and I fill up. Let's say it's $50, right? So conventional credit card usage will tell you you use the credit card and you got, let's say, a week, 2 weeks in order to pay off that balance, because it runs on like a 30-day cycle. So you use it, and let's say we're in April now, you use it then, and you have 30 days from that date to pay that bill. Yes and no. Focusing on no, because when it comes to credit and credit usage, you do not have 30 days in order to have that take effect or not. Quite often, it takes anywhere from 3 to 7 days, calendar days, to have your score affected. And full disclosure here, I've used my credit card, and let's say I use it today, and literally 8 days later, because I used, let's say, maybe 10% of the 30% they advise you to use, right, to maintain good standing and all that kind of stuff to help you build credit, within 8 days, my score dropped 11 points. Now, for those of you who don't follow your credit score that closely, it might not mean that much to you. But for those in the credit industry, in the lending industry, who deal with credit and who follows their credit on a very, very, very meticulous basis, you know how devastating 11-point drops can be, right? So it dropped 11 points. And trust me, when I tell you, my heart dropped. Because after, let's say, 4 or 5 months of working on building my credit and getting my score back up into, let's say, the high 6s or the mid to high 6s, to see an 11-point drop was absolutely devastating. So what I realized was, I woke up one day and I said, you know what? What if I took my credit union's advisor's advice and use it like a debit card? And guess what happened? Within 2 weeks of me using my credit card like a debit card, my score started to go up. I don't let the next day meet me and I don't make that payment in that amount that I used the card for. So making that payment now keeps your balance at 0, right? 0% usage. So guys, no lie. Within less than 2 months, I saw my credit report jump up 35 points within less than 2 months, right? Now, Credit Karma, they now offer where they can check your scores every day. Now, I check my score every single week. Every single week I check my score. And I make sure that I'm monitoring if you go into the details on Credit Karma, you can see what your usage percentage is at, and you can see what was last reported. And trust me, when I did exactly that, and before my score jumped up and I saw that 11-point drop, I checked my usage, and my usage was a grand total of like 12%, which is just about a third of what the credit gurus and credit repair specialists will tell you, right? 12%, and I got an 11-point drop because my credit card was carrying a $44 balance for 8 days. 8 days, right? And it went from what it was down 11 points in 8 days, right? So that's why now I check my score religiously every 7 days, right? I used to check it midweek so I can see where it's at and monitor where it's going. So once I did that, and I started using my card a different way, I noticed that my score is jumping up. So what I did, and this is something that people who don't have to deal with credit or have great credit, they don't understand. When you have a low credit score, it can be very depressing, right? Because you're literally paying sometimes thousands of dollars more than people with good credit. When you don't have good credit, it costs you money. It costs you opportunity, right? So, and it costs you time. So it can be very depressing. So when I figured out this trick of using my credit card like a debit card and paying those balances off the same day that I used the card, and I noticed it was working, I said to my wife, honey, I said, listen, this is what we got to do now. I know, and listen, we had a long conversation about, okay, so we're going to take the time to get this credit card and to use it and to use only 30% of what the limit is that we had a long conversation about that. And I sat with her and I talked to her about it. I said, babe, this is going to be the new plan. We're both going to use our debit card, our credit cards like debit cards. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to put whatever we pay for that day, when we come home or we get back to whatever it is, we will make sure and make that payment. So we make the payment in the amount of whatever. And guess what happened? She was the first one to see a major increase, a 22-point jump in her credit score. That weight that lifts off your shoulders when you realize that you now, average Joe or average Jane, has good credit. And to be able to see, to go into Credit Karma's card recommendations, and they tell you what the odds are of you getting approved for a card, to see that go from you have a fair chance to now the odds of you getting approved for them are outstanding. I can show it to you right now. Outstanding, right? And so to see the difference that that causes, the difference that that makes in someone's life and my own, is something that I'm passionate about, because I know this information, it can be very confusing, it can be very intimidating, dealing with creditors, dealing with this whole process, and it can be very unnerving and very scary at times, but you can do it. It can be done. I've done it. You could go on Google right now and find a credit repair agency. You can go on Google right now and find a guru on YouTube that will tell you this, that, and the third, and he'll help you, and obviously pay him or her for you to get their help, right? But this is how I am. This is why I started Millionaire Insight. Not to say that I believe that somebody shouldn't get paid for their work, because they should, right? They should get paid for their work, because it's hard work to prepare something like this. It's hard, it's time consuming. You take time from your family, you take time away from the things that you truly love to do, that truly matters to you, in order to present this, whatever it is, to people. So I do believe that people should get paid for their work, and they should get paid what they're worth. But at the same time, you know where you come from, right? When you're like me, you're a minority in this country. You come from nothing. You come from having nothing, less than nothing sometimes. Listen, man, I come from where sometimes all we had in the fridge was water, right? So I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to not have. I know what it's like to want a way out, want a way to do something better. So when I do things like this, it's for you. It's for you guys to see that it can be possible to have these things. The way you see this, when you look at your credit and you see it's in the 700s, and it's only gonna get better. It's only gonna get better. And people will say, "Oh, having credit is not everything. I carry cash." Yeah, you carry cash. Good for you. When it's time to buy a house, when it's time to get a car, when it's time to get a job, all these things make a difference, and they look at your credit. So whether it is you believe in it or not, it can make the difference whether you save money or whether it costs you money. Now, they say knowledge is power, but knowledge can be costly. And when I say costly, I mean it can cost you if you don't have the knowledge, or it can save you if you do. Because the reality is, 2 years ago, I had no idea. A year ago, I had no idea. Now I have the confidence to know that I can tell somebody that is the decision maker that I have good credit. And when they run my stuff, I can demonstrate to them that I have good credit. And I will say this. When you do get to a place where you have a 700 and above credit score, they will send you stuff. This is something that I never understood. Where when you don't have money, they won't give you nothing. You have to earn every bit of what you get. You have to pay for every bit of what you get. Outside the favor of God, listen, you gotta pay, right? Let you get some money. Let you start making $500,000, $1 million, a couple $1 million, $10, $50 million, and you start to get a little notoriety on your name. They'll start sending you stuff. And credit works the same way. When you start getting that 700, that 750, that 800, that 850 credit score, they will send you everything. But let me caution you, not everything you get sent in the mail you should apply for. They'll give you pre-approved this. Let's see if you can qualify for that. Low money, no money down this, 0% on transfer this. Don't fall for it. Always remember, it's about achieving the goal. You set a goal to get good credit or to repair your credit, and you know why you wanted to have that done. So until you get to where you need to go, you should not, and I highly discourage that even after you get to a 700 credit score and above, 750 and above, you don't apply for everything, right? Because every time you apply for something, it will in most cases hit your credit score, right? Because you have soft pulls, which most oftentimes don't pull on your credit or don't cause any effect on your credit, but you apply for enough stuff and you'll get some hard pulls. You'll get some hard pulls on your credit where it will affect your credit score and it will go down. Now, things that also go hand in hand with credit usage is the amount of time you had a credit card, whether secured or unsecured. So anything below 6 months, it has about middle way or moderate impact on your credit. So it still kind of doesn't look so good to have a credit card less than 6 months, but stick with it, because once you get to that 6 month mark, it starts to look better and better. So stay the course and keep watching your credit every single week to make sure that you're on track and you're maintaining that 0% usage, where you're using your credit card, or your credit card, secured or unsecured, as a debit card. And I dare you to try this and come back to this video, come back to the comments and let me know, or message me and let me know how things went. Now, yeah, like I said, always talk to a financial professional before making financial decisions. Taste and see. Try it out and see, right? Go to a credit union in your area, find a good credit union, ask questions, find out and see. Ask about a secured card, save up your $250, save up your $500, whatever it is, get you a secured card, right? Do what needs to be done, get it done, and I promise you that you take the right steps and you will be surprised where you end up. So guys, thank you so much for giving me the time today. I appreciate your attention. Go ahead and click subscribe below, and I will make sure and put my website in the description so you guys can check out the website and see all the stuff that I've done. Go to the website to make sure that you support the content. If you follow me on social media, make sure you turn on notifications. And on Facebook, when you click notifications, click see first so you never miss a post or a video, okay? And I'm also on TikTok, so please, all my TikTokers out there, go on TikTok and follow me at Mr. Millionaire Insight. I'll put it there so you can see. You can follow all my socials. Not spam all my socials, but follow me on social media at Mr. Millionaire Insight. And the YouTube channel is Millionaire Insight, the number 4 and the word life. On YouTube.com, you can search for that. And you can also go to my Patreon, patreon.com/Millionaire Insight, so you can support the channel. They say salvation is free, but ministry costs, and best believe this is ministry, people. So if you want to support my content, you can start with as little as $5 if you feel so led, so blessed to do so. Really appreciate your help. Really appreciate the support. And listen, if nothing else, it costs nothing to like a video and share the video, because things like this is something that would make a huge difference in the people that you know. Think about every person that you know that has less than perfect credit that could use a higher credit score, right? Share it with someone. Make sure and like the video. Make sure and leave a comment and tell me if you found value in this video, if you found value in this post. I watch the comments after it goes off, so I want to make sure and interact with you. So again, guys, thank you so much for giving me the time of your Friday today. And until next time, guys, live life, love God. See you when I see you.